We're talking about the extension of Saquon Barkley yesterday, making him the highest paid running back in the history of the NFL. Still, according to Andrew Brandt, just the 7th highest paid player on the Eagles offense currently, not all time, currently. They work the cap in a way where this actually saves money against the cap. So Howie Roseman must be cooking up something, either trying to retain some of the players that are entering free agency from this Super Bowl roster, or maybe they're looking to make a big splash. We all know about the Myles Garrett stuff out there. Max Crosby is a name that's being floated out there as well, who's not going to get as much money as Garrett, but is still going to get paid a lot of money. He could be available via trade for the Eagles, and then obviously you're going to rework a deal after that. But Howie's currently working on something, clearly, because Howie is always aggressive, and that was an aggressive move yesterday to extend a running back by 2 more years, making him the highest paid running back in history, obviously as a reward for what he did this past year. But it's also, I imagine, a concern for some people. Let's be fair.
Yeah, but here's the way you got to think about it, right? So the third-year option that existed on Saquon's initial deal basically doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? So you were looking at a guy that, in the NFL standards, was heading into the final year of his deal. And he just put up that season.
Yeah.
So the question, too, is what do you do? We're already talking about how they're going to have to find the right guy to be the depth piece running back if Kenny Gainwell moves on in free agency. It's going to be a lot harder to replace the facet of the offense that Saquon Barkley brings. So let's live in a world where Saquon goes out and rushes for 1,600 yards next year. I don't think that's unrealistic.
That's the number that I was saying the other day.
Then he's got back-to-back monster seasons for this team. By the way, you're going to be a Super Bowl contender again. And where do you think his price tag would have gone if the option had not been exercised and it's like, well, I want to go seek some more money? It would have been more expensive. And by the way, I don't think you can see a guy that rushed for over 2,000 yards just this past season and say, well, the end of his prime is coming soon. Like, I don't know when the drop-off is there, but the next 4 years is probably a pretty safe bet that you'll get productivity out of Saquon Barkley. They did it the cheapest way, the smartest way, the most aggressive way. Like, it is just a perfect move for a perfect team.
Right. And again, you say drop-off. There's probably going to be a drop-off this year, but a drop-off where it's still 16,000 yards. 1,600 yards. Jeez.
16,000 would be a nice year.
That'd be a really nice year.
I'll take the under.
I mean, and we kind of have predicted that for a lot of players. Like, you know, is Quinyon Mitchell going to be at, like, Darrelle Revis again next year? Could be. I don't know. Like, I don't want to put Darrelle Revis expectations on a guy going into his second year where he just locks down every single player. He could be. But there might be a natural fall-off when you have to play more games than every team in the NFL except for one, right, with the Kansas City Chiefs, who also played in the Super Bowl. But the Eagles didn't have the first-round bye. So they did play more games than every team in the NFL. There might be a bit of a fall-off. But I still expect Saquon's fall-off to still be one of the better running back seasons in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, what's a fall-off for the Philadelphia Eagles? They win the Super Bowl by 14 next year instead of 18? Like,
right.
This team was so damn good. And the fall-off is now being countered by 3 moves in like 24 hours have cleared up, like, what, $13 million in cap space?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. You know what $13 million in cap space very well could be? 90% of a year's worth of Zach Bond's contract.
Yeah.
Like, that all got done in a day. Howie Roseman's unbelievable.
Right. And then, of course, there was already the extra cap space that the league announced the other day. So Howie's got a lot to work with, man, and it's really cool to see how much his career has changed. I mentioned that poll that I saw on social media. 93% of people wanted Howie Roseman fired just 4 years ago. And here we are now talking about him deserving a jacket, a gold jacket, to be in Canton. And everything points to that being a possibility down the road one day. If not, it's already certain, being that he's won 2 Super Bowls and was in a third.
And don't forget, he bleeds for the city.
He does bleed for the city. That was one of the coolest moments of the parade. All right, what do we have on the text line? How are the people reacting, or how are the people chiming in about this how did we get here discussion when it wasn't that long ago that Howie Roseman was not in everybody's good graces? You can text in, you can call in at 610-632-0975.
Yeah, Sinclair's checking in saying, I wanted Howie fired after the 2020 draft. Rager over Jefferson, then drafting Hurts at the time made no sense. It basically ruined Wentz's career, who he just paid. Ironically, since the 2021 draft and trading Wentz away, he significantly made the team better, and his decision-making has gotten better. Taking full advantage of trades. Credit to Howie Roseman for learning, and Jeffrey Lurie for sticking up for him and being willing to front the money up front.
Yeah, I mean, I don't run from it. I thought the Jalen Hurts draft pick was horrible. Horrible. And not necessarily because of who Jalen Hurts was. Your team had 17 different needs.
Right.
Not a backup quarterback.
And it was the compounding anger of the Jalen Rager pick.
Right.
And then
Just the
Jalen
round
Hurts
before, yeah.
right after. It's just like, what in the world is this guy doing?
And again, I thought that was smartest man in the room syndrome. I'm going to overthink everything. Majority of scouts within the Eagles organization wanted Justin Jefferson. Howie decided to go with Jalen Rager. They ended up getting Jalen Hurts in the second round of that draft when the Eagles needed a bunch of different things. And there were players available. There were safeties available, corners available, linebackers available. There was a lot of things that the Eagles needed to do, and backup quarterback was not something that they needed to do. And then if you remember the third round, they did go linebacker, and they drafted a guy that didn't play. They drafted Davion Taylor.
Yeah.
He didn't play football until college. He kind of played in high school.
And he didn't play in the NFL.
No, well, yeah, barely. He's not on a team, right? And that was another pick where everybody was like, who the hell is this? That was a bad draft for Howie. And then after that, it all just flipped, man. 2021, Devontae, Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams were your first three picks. Like, all of a sudden, that began the heater.
Dude, look
of
at
Howie
2023. Just while we're doing this, just while we're loving on Howie.
Yeah.
Look at 2023.
Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen. Jalen Carter, your next Aaron Donald. Nolan Smith set a franchise record for playoff sacks this past year.
Keep going, though.
And Tyler Steen could be waiting in the wing. Sidney Brown, okay.
Player.
Keely Ringo could be your starting outside corner.
Yes.
This year. Tanner McKee. Who knows? It could get flipped for something.
Exactly.
A lot of teams liked what they saw, apparently, in that final game. And then even Moro Jomo in the seventh round.
Rotational piece. How often do you see guys make that many picks in a draft and every single one of them still on the team 2 years later? You win the Super Bowl. Like, four of them are contenders, contributors to a Super Bowl winning team. Like, even Tanner McKee, he played in a game this year and played well and could be a piece that you could flip for something. You don't get usable players at that rate in a single draft. I think that's the best draft in Eagles history.
So I gave you that 3-year span, right, of you had Devontae Smith, you had Landon Dickerson, Milton Williams. The next year, Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, and Kobe Dean. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Tyler Steen. I'll give you an extra year. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Hunt. Like, legit players.
All-time heater.
Let me give you another 3-year span to show you how far we've come. 2015, Nelson Aguilar, Eric Rowe, Jordan Hicks, Carson Wentz, Isaac Seumalo, Wendell Smallwood the next year.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Derek Barnett, Sidney Jones, Rasul Douglas the next year. My God, as Howie Roseman flipped the switch, and I don't see this stopping anytime soon. And now you got guys like TJ Houshmandzadeh saying they're the best organization in all football. We'll play that for you again if you missed it coming up next. Also, Jeff McClain put out a tweet about what the Eagles could do next. Who's the next Eagle that has a little change in their contract? And what is Howie working toward? We'll discuss that all next. It's Kincade and South.
Thank you so much for checking out our content on the 97.5 The Fanatic YouTube channel. Hope you enjoyed the video. And remember, you can always be checking the playlist. There may be something you missed from one of our shows during the day that you want to go back and check out. So every time you like a video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and you'll have that great content coming to you every single day. You're greatly appreciated.